And so here's my thought for this morning. Mouth shut and eyes open. Mouth shut and eyes open. Because there are a lot of voices in this world that are speaking negativity into our lives, aren't there? There's a lot of voices in this world that are trying to suck the wonder and suck the joy out of our life. And so this morning, I want to open up to the Gospel of Luke. So if you have your Bibles, Luke chapter 1. If you're online, open up your cell phone apps to Luke chapter 1. And so just kind of a little bit of context. What do we know about Luke? Well, Luke wrote the Gospel of Luke and also the book of Acts. Okay? Now we know that Luke was a first century contemporary of the Apostle Paul. You know that great missionary who went around the Mediterranean basin? We know that Luke traveled with Paul on his second missionary journey and probably stayed with him until his first imprisonment in Rome. We know that Luke was extremely well educated. He was Greek. He was a physician. All right? And we know that he took it upon himself to write an orderly account of the things that took place. So Luke basically said, in spite of what you may have heard about this Jesus, in spite of what you may have been told, I carefully investigated everything. I wrote an orderly account so that future generations would know, without a shadow of a doubt, what it was that we saw, what it was that we experienced firsthand. And what I find absolutely amazing, okay, and she looks amazed, doesn't she? Okay. What I find absolutely positively amazing is that Luke begins his gospel account with this unknown priest named Zechariah and Elizabeth. Okay, now, he probably heard about Zechariah and Elizabeth from Mary, the mother of Jesus herself. So it was probably Mary who gave the account to Luke, and he recorded it. But Luke begins his gospel account with Zechariah and Elizabeth. I mean, who in the world were they? I mean, when we think of Christmas, we think of the nativity scene, don't we? I mean, Mary and Joseph, they get all the kudos. Mary and Joseph, they get all the shine. We got the nativity scene up front. We got one out in the narthex. You've got one on the mantle, or maybe even in your front yard at home. Now, for sure, that's the culmination of this aspect of God's grace was the birth of Jesus. But you know what? God's grace started far before the nativity scene. God's grace goes all the way back to Genesis chapter 3 when Adam and Eve ushered sin into the world. At that moment, God's plan of salvation was put into place. God's plan of salvation was before Satan ever had a scheme. Through 42 generations, you know that the first couple chapters of Matthew? Okay, the ones you skip every year, 42 generations of so-and-so begat so-and-so who begat so-and-so. It was God's grace working throughout history, okay, culminating here at the birth of Jesus.